Welcome, friends. It's Ray. Thank you so much for joining me today.
In today's video, we are making cards with the February 2022 Hero Arts monthly card kit. And the kit for this month comes in this mesh bag so that you can keep your project all together. And the theme is Celestial Dreams. Oh, pretty. So let's take a look at all of the goodies. Okay. The 6x8 stamp set. Oh, that's very pretty. And let me get some white cardstock for that. Okay. Yes, much better. And there are some really dreamy images in the stamp set. And there are 9 sentiments. And there is a coordinating die for every image in the kit. And let's see here, even the smallest ones. All right, so we also get some Daniel Smith, the Hero Arts Dream Palette, because remember this kit is all about celestial dreams. And then we get 2 8.5 by 5.5 sheets of black watercolor paper, and then a Hero Arts water flow brush. So let's get started making cards with this kit. Card number 1 is an A2 card, and I've used the Alice in Wonderland sentiment from the kit. And this card is full of rainbows. I used the hat and the apple and the mirror with the butterflies. I thought that would tie in well with all of the rainbow colors. And I also finished it off with some sparkle sheer shimmer spray. I don't know if you can see the shimmer, but it's very beautiful in person. And then I added a few lemon chiffon.
I am using the Catherine Pooler Twisted Sunburst stamp. I'm also using some Bristol Smooth Strathmore watercolor paper because I plan to put lots of ink on this card and spritz it. And am going to start my rainbow with Distress Oxide Candied Apple ink, and then I will bring in some ripe persimmon, squeezed lemonade, twisted citron, salty ocean, and seedless preserves. Once I finish all of my colors, I am going to zap this with my heat gun so that my colors all dry, and then put it in my spray box and use some Sparkle Sheer Shimmer Spray and set that aside to dry. I am going to blot this with my paper towel and then use my heat tool to speed up the drying. I heat embossed my sentiment and used some Wow Superfine Detail Embossing Powder in platinum. And I'm really liking it. I got a whole set of 4 of these and I really like them. And here I'm using some liquid adhesive to affix blank die cuts to the back of my mirror so that I can elevate. I've done the same for my apple and my hat, and then place those on my card front, and you finished off the card with some lemon chiffon dots by Pops of Colors. Love the colors in this card.
Card number 2 is also an A2 card, and I used the Hero Arts Starlight, Starbold, um, Starlight, Starbright bold prints background stamp to stamp this using Hero Art's white pigment ink. I added some water to that stamp.
So here I wanted to show you how I did the background. Placed my stamp in the MISTI. Already cut my card panel down to an A2 size. Used some repositionable tape to make sure it sticks. I did take the mouse pad out of the MISTI, which you have to do with these large rubber stamps. And I am using some Hero Arts white unicorn white pigment ink here to stamp, and my dry eraser. And I am actually going to stamp this like 3 times because I want to build up that ink. I really want a lot of ink. And then after stamping 3 times, and you can do it once or twice, but I wanted lots of ink. So then afterwards, I used my spray bottle and I sprayed my stamp. And that is how I get this texture and the look of almost like a whitewash. I placed my panel into my splat box and brought in some picket fence distress oxide reinker and added a little water on a palette with it and mixed it and splattered.
You know, I love my Slimline cards. So, card number 3 is a Slimline card, and I used a cloud stencil and the door image. And then in Dreams, we're planting seeds for our future that just seemed to tie in with a futuristic card. When I looked at this stamp set, I thought about the Netflix series Stranger Things, the Upside Down, which was the alternate universe. And then I also thought of the old Twilight Zone, which of course has introduced us to the fifth dimension or an alternate universe.
Here I am using some 65-pound white cardstock, Nina White, and some Distress Oxides, tumbled glass, squeezed lemonade, and twisted citron to make clouds on my background with the MFT mini cloud stencil.
Card number 4 is an A2 card, and I used the buffalo check background stamp for this, and also used an MFT die to cut out the center and have my door and some sequins inside for my shaker. I think that came out beautifully. Love it, love it.
I stamped my image with VersaFine Onyx Black ink onto my Hero Arts Cranberry cardstock and then let that dry and used an MFT tall snow globe die to cut out the center. And then, of course, am making a shaker window and have applied my acetate with double-sided tape. I did stamp the arch and stair image and cut off the stairs and affix that to my front panel with the liquid adhesive. I stamped my sentiment on 40-pound basil vellum and heat embossed it, placed some and trimmed it down to about an inch and placed some double-sided tape on either side and placed that in on the inside of my left and right archway here. I used my front panel to line up where I wanted to place my door behind my window. And I'm going to affix that to my white mat with liquid glue. I placed foam tape on the back of my shaker, framing my window, trying to make sure I don't have any openings, or the connections between each piece of foam tape are pretty snug, so that my sequins, especially on the inside, nothing is going to fall out. I used my anti-static bag in hopes of making sure that my sequins doesn't get staticky and stick. And then I used my double-sided tweezers to help remove the release tape before putting my sequins on the inside. And I'm using some Sun, Moon, and Star sequins by Prima Marketing. And then I have placed my a second piece of acetate on the back to secure my sequins. Then I'm coming in with some double-sided tape so that I can affix this to my white card panel. I affixed my card panel to my base and added a few stars to accent this card.
Card number 5 is the cutout from card number 4, and then stamp some of the stars from the kit. Cut out some stars out of silver cardstock, added the umbrella and a beautiful sentiment, popped that up on foam tape, and came out very nice. Card number 6 is a Slimline card, and I stamped the initial image from the kit and turned my card panel over, and stamped it again. I thought that added a lot of interest to my Slimline card.
So here you can see I've stamped my image twice, prepped for heat embossing prior to, and now am applying some clear embossing powder. And this cardstock is Bristol Smooth cardstock. And so now heat embossing that, because I am going to use the Daniel Smith watercolors from the kit. I won't show that on camera, but wanted to just point that out. And so here I'm taking my T ruler and a 0.5 micron pen and just extending the lines. I also stamped and watercolored 3 of the umbrella images from the kit. I thought this card needed a little bit more, so I brought in my VersaFine Onyx black ink and stamped a few of the stars, star clusters that were in the kit. I also added some fish images from the kit, and then I used my Uniball gold gel pen to add some gold spots and texture throughout.
I think this is my favorite card. It is a Slimline card, and I made a moon and stamped in images from the kit, splattered some gold ink, re-inker on this panel, added some liquid mercury dots, Nouveau crystal drops, to make like a galaxy starry background, and mounted that onto gold and then silver cardstock. Love the way that turned out.
So here, I have prepped my panel for heat embossing with my anti-static powder bag and placed my stencil over my 65-pound black cardstock and taped it down with some purple tape and pounced my Versamark clear embossing ink directly on that stencil and made sure that I got good coverage. And so now I'm bringing in my Hero Arts gold embossing powder and just being as liberal as possible with that, using a dry brush to erase powder from areas that I don't want it in. I start with my heat tool on the back, and as that is heating up, and once that is good and hot, I am bringing it to the front and watching the magic of heat embossing happen. I am using a 4-inch circle from my stash and using low tack tape to. Next, I position my smaller circle, 3 3/4 inch, with that same low tack tape, and we'll run that through my die cutting machine to make my moon. I have stamped images from the kit onto a black panel, 65 pound, and placed some gold reinker on my palette, added a little water, and placing my panel in my splat box, and am going to just splatter away. I want as many stars as possible on this background. Love, love, love this technique. So here I've affixed my moon to my card panel, attached all of my mats and attached that to a card base, added my sentiments, bringing in my Nuvo crystal drops in liquid mercury to finish off this card. Card number 8 is a Slimline card. I had fun with this one.
Because I scored my panel using my scoreboard. Well, first I blended some Distress Oxide inks on my panel, then let that dry. Sprayed some sparkle shimmer spray on it. Oh, before I sprayed the spray, I did a little dragging of unicorn white ink using a small cube. Just dragged a little bit to add some texture and interest. Let that dry and then sprayed with my shimmer spray. Added my images and popped those up on foam tape, and added some lemon chiffon drops of color and mounted that onto a craft card mat.
So here I'm scoring my panel and flipped it over to the back to score it every 1/4 inch, and then rotated it to the other side to make my cross scores.
Card number 9 is a Galaxy card. I had so much fun making this. This is my second favorite, I should say. And I will show you the steps I used to make this card. But after I got my background done, I popped up my image with some foam tape, added some metallic gold stars and some Nuvo crystal drops in pale gold to finish off this card.
So for the Galaxy technique, I am starting with multiple colors of Distress Oxide. Wild Honey, um, I am bringing that in first and just um, getting that down throughout the panel, and then bringing in some picked raspberry and adding that color, um, and then some twisted citron. So I just want to get my colors. They don't necessarily have to blend, but blending is always good. And they don't have to be neat or really blended out, I guess is my point. I brought in some peacock feathers and some prized ribbon to add some blue, and then just bringing that picked raspberry in again. Then I am bringing in some chipped sapphire and just going around the edges of the panel to darken those a bit. After the chipped sapphire, I am bringing in some black soot distress oxide ink and going around that same perimeter where I placed or blended the chipped sapphire. And here I am spraying just some regular water on this panel so that my inks do blend together. Then I am blotting that off, or just really laying my paper towel over it to pull up some of that ink without wiping. And I'm bringing in my heat tool to dry this panel. And I forgot to mention that this is Canson XL watercolor paper because I knew I'd be putting a lot of ink and a lot of water on this. So I brought in a little more water there and am drying that. Next, I place my panel in my splat box with some more of that white picket fence re-inker and a little water, and just splatter the white all over. And then I didn't put much water, so very little. So using a paper towel to blot up some of that as I dry it with my heat tool. And then now I have mixed a little gold re-inker with water and am applying splatters in the splat box. Now I'm using a small paintbrush, a number 4 paintbrush. I'm finding that gives me the size and control that I want with splatter, if there's such a thing as control, but it definitely gives me the size splatter that I want, and it gives me a lot of splatter.
So card number 10 is an A2 card. I made a galaxy background with most of my bright colors in the center. Used black soot and actually a little bit of chipped sapphire distress oxide inks to ink my edges. And I used that same black soot to kind of mute my moon, because I had made my moon, cut my moon out of just to break.
So here I wanted to show you how I cut my moon, same way I did in the prior card, and then brought in some black soot just to distress the edges of the moon to mute the color a bit. If you followed me in the past, you may notice that I've tried to streamline the video a bit so that you're not just watching me make a card. Rather, I'm trying to spotlight the techniques because I'm thinking that is the most interesting part of making a card is how did you do that? So let me know in the comments what you think of this technique, and hopefully you liked the video and will give me a thumbs up and consider subscribing if you're not already a subscriber. As always, thank you so much for joining me today. Until next time, good day, friends.